Greetings, I am Lies and I use she, her.
And I am Scandal, and I use they, them.
And let's play a game together!
Yeah! Alright! That never happened before. You must have brought the reins with you, Kohai.
It's never rained in the in-between before now.
Not even slightly.
As Kohai arrived and made it moist.
I've made it wet.
He looks eagerly to where the storm has gathered, and gets to his feet once more.
Come on, I want to see it for myself.
He takes my hand and pulls me gently to my feet, brushing sand off my clothes, and then leads us away.
Okay, so we've had a couple of people, real quick, who've actually been like, his name isn't Asra,
It's Asra.
And I'm like, but, you know, it's like the astral plane. You go to Asra.
I say Asra being a name, sort of connector to the astral plane.
Yes, and considering he's the most mystical character of all, that is, like, not saying that we did it on purpose, because we were totally just like, how can we overread this? Because we really just went,
I mean, for me, I was just like, I didn't know how it was supposed to be pronounced, so I was like,
I didn't know either.
Asra?
Well, also, as far as I know, there's no official...
I don't know if there is an official pronunciation or not. Maybe
I
they
mean,
have a guide.
if it's not in the game, part of my brain wants to be like, it doesn't matter anyway, which we've done before, because that would just be Twitter canon. You're like, you should just put it in. Anyway.
The oasis soon fades to thick jungle that muffles our footsteps, thunder echoing all around us.
Because the jungle has not run away.
I turn my head to a growl at the edge of my hearing. Grrr, grrr, grrr. Startling a little when I see a path open up before me. I move to ask Asra, and I find he is nowhere near. My hand feels empty and cold. Leaves rattle as the wind picks up further down the murky path. A thin, wailing moan that seems to call my name. Something moves in the thick brush. A lurking shadow that beckons me. Nope, not gonna make the reference. Shadows lick at my heels, tempting me to move, to heed the call. I just need to take the first step.
Kohai!
Asra pulls me tight into his arms, ripping me from whatever compulsion gripped me.
Oh my god,
When-
they're actually mentioning compulsions.
They do. I actually wanted to note that as soon as I finished reading, but there have been so many times where characters in the story that we've read so far, especially the other two routes, have just done things, and I'm like, this feels totally out of the mood that we were just in, and out of the motivations that we were just, stating and or were established for us. And having compulsion in there so that you know there is an external force driving you to do this just means so much to me.
It also, okay, so I did want to mention, I think we've mentioned it before, but it really is bizarre to go, this is so much more written like a story compared to, the other two routes, which is not to be mean, but it feels more complete in that way.
So far.
Tonally, so far, it seems to be very much it has a goal in mind, and it's working to get there. It's just really nice to kind of go along with it, and I love that.
It also feels like there's more, again, explicit information on what's going on, such as, I walk this way. It's just
walk this way,
feeling a gentle tug, which is different than a compulsion,
right?
Kind of thing, or
a
just
gentle tug.
Interested in this thing,
I'm
or,
like,
I see a bright spot, I walk towards it. Why? Shiny.
She says out, it's okay.
When I glance back, there's nothing there. No darkness, no growling shadows, just sand and sky.
Right. First thing about this place, Kohai, it shouldn't hurt you as long as you're careful.
What does careful look like?
Going down a dark path, next time just turn away.
So, dark paths are not careful.
So what you're saying, Asra, is that dark path equal not careful?
Mastra.
Asthma is worse. Now we're getting into Asbar.
So,
just turn away.
Careful is brightly lit path, or no path, or walking on water.
What are we talking about?
So I know what is not careful, but it is only one thing.
So if I go for the glitter versus the not glitter, like inverse glitter, so it absorbs light, I go for the pitch black.
You just look super put out there. I get that it's supposed to be kind of a concern look, but it looks very put out.
That actually is, you have to read the whole thing and then you look at the face.
Asra leaves one arm around me as he turns us both away, watching the sand out of the corner of his eye.
There's his corner of the eye. Watch.
He is sus of the sand.
He's like, fuck you.
That's his sus face. That's his stay there and make no more paths, or I will do something.
Go ahead, don't make passes at
Right.
my not apprentice.
How dare you flirt with my kohai?
My high kohai.
Okay. Can't pick a label for them, but kohai.
Come on, I don't know how much longer the rain will last. What does the rain mean?
It doesn't.
I feel like
I think he doesn't know either.
Oh.
I think he's just interested because he's like, it's never happened before.
That would be really cool. But I also would be like, all right, well,
And he's like, I want to go see. He stays closer to me now as we follow the sound of thunder.
Ooh, there's thunder.
Arm warm and comforting around my shoulders. In a desert, I don't know that I need warm, but specifying here that the warm is good.
However, you could make an argument. So actually, deserts at night are really fucking cold.
But we're not at night.
Well, we don't know if we're during the day.
I don't know when we are.
We did mention that there are a bunch of stars in the sky. I think it's just a phase of it could be any time.
It's true.
It's just this sort of weird, surreal...
I don't even know that there's a temperature here either. It hasn't been said.
So him being warm, actually, though, would be distinctive. Because when you have
be.
an absence of everything, and suddenly you have something warm, you'd be like, oh,
ooh,
you are warm.
But also,
I didn't realize that it was cold.
I like that it specifies and comforting. So it's like, what is the warm? It's comforting. There's been a lot of times where there's been imagery put forth or sensation information put forth, and they don't tell us how we feel about it, but then the preceding actions suggest that you feel that, or the following actions suggest that you did feel a certain way about it. Sort of in sometimes where it's like, we see there's a horrible dripping figure full of bugs and mucus and whatever, and then it's like, I am, and then it's like, you try to stop your quaking. And it's like, why are we quaking? We didn't say we found this scary.
Yeah.
And so we say that we find this comforting, that's good.
Yes, it is actually really good.
We turn a corner in the jungle and Asra stops suddenly with a sharp intake of breath. Eyes wide.
Is this all because of you?
The ground drops off into a steep cliff in front of us, covered in shimmering mist that coalesces further into the ravine.
God, can you imagine how wild that would be? But I'd also be like, you know what, Asra? Just postulating here. Like, no experience whatsoever. Do you think maybe this area has never changed because you're the only one who's been in it, so therefore it only reflects you?
No other minds?
Have you
There's
no other magic?
Ever been here alone before?
Yeah, right?
There's the storm. It's gathered in a deep chasm. Black clouds streak through with blue lightning.
Beautiful.
Water races up from the clouds as they cling to the rocky cliffs. Up? It's raining upward? The droplets dance in the sky. Yep, falling upwards in spirals.
That sounds
so
gorgeous.
It is pulled from the ground, running up your legs and up your hands and up your face.
Dude, that would be cool as hell.
Or does it touch us at all? Does it just go around you?
I mean, it says it's down in the chasm, so we're watching this sort of thing while there's stuff going up.
In front of us.
Yeah, in front of us. So it might be like there are clouds higher, and then there's clouds in the chasm, so we're kind of watching this whole thing happen in front of us, like a wall of water just rising.
Yeah, water races up from the clouds.
Rain rising up.
Yeah, so it's like the clouds are down here and they're raining up towards the sky. Okay, because we can't stand all the clouds. Got it.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I've never seen anything like this.
He reaches out to touch the rain, and the world shifts. Clouds shooting up all around us.
Yeah, he's never seen this before. Okay.
Completely drenching the both of us in rain as the storm rights itself. Also, though, just going, it rained up my dress really aggressively for just a moment.
You have a dress.
I mean, Kohai does wear things that I would call robes, or like split robes, or possibly dresses. So that.
Yeah, possibly.
I say, in the same way that you can say, like, basically in India, all the men and women are mostly wearing dresses.
Yeah.
And in Russia, there's a big culture of dresses. They're not a gendered garment.
Yeah.
Except in America.
Yeah.
And Europe.
Yeah.
The Europeans are like, dresses are for women.
Other cultures. Oh my god, do you know how comfy these things are?
Also, we have extremely powerful masculine men wearing dresses.
Scottish.
Also, people got Scottish judging you. No, that's a kilt. It's a dress, man. It's a skirt, alright?
I mean, it's a kilt because it's a specific thing, but it's also a dress.
Yeah, it's both.
And also the thing is, it's like, clothing itself is tended to be called, what kind of dress are you going to be wearing? It's a generalized term. It's like saying clothing.
Yeah,
what is your dress?
Yeah, your formal dress. It's like costume. costume doesn't mean wearing a disguise or a dress up. It's like,
or
what's
like
your
a
cultural costume?
Right.
So cultural, it can also be like, let's
My
pick out...
cultural costume is a graphic tee and jeans.
Yep, and that is an American cultural costume.
It's true.
As well as dressing up like a cowboy, even without dressing up as a cowboy, just putting on your Wranglers and your leather boots and your button-down, shirt.
The artificiality
hat,
of, like, the fact that, like, cowboy... Okay, so weird deviation here. Cowboy was really just a job. Like, it wasn't this big, weird pinnacle of masculinity. And in fact, cowboy, like the actual cowboy culture, because it was so basically distant and isolated, you had a lot of people who ran away to be cowboys, as it were, in order to basically live out queer lifestyles, to run away from basically people who said you were failures or you were disgusting or whatever else.
Or we don't find you agreeable, and or people who are less social, all of that.
And also you had a lot of, like, indigenous people who were involved in being cowboys. You also had a lot of black people who were involved in being cowboys. You had a lot of Mexicans.
You get to be far away from society frequently.
And away from the white people who judge you.
Yeah, and away from people who are going to make your life hard by discriminating against you. And you basically just take care of your cattle and then you sell it when it's time.
Yep.
And you do trading and stuff, and that's all that's required.
Like, it was very different. Also, again, it's like so funny going, that was a job. And now everybody's like, cowboy, the image of America. And you're like,
okay,
oh my God, the way that it's transformed, it's John Wayne now.
I'll say, last bit of dress, going, you're saying that a hanfu and a kimono, which can be worn by men or women, is it's a dress. Like, then your dress is non-gendered.
Yes.
I was like, it's a kimono, it's not a dress. No, it really is.
Is also, you have to be very specific there, because you have different types of how those things are also worn. Actually, isn't hanfu, though, specifically for women in Korea?
It might be. I'm not sure.
I can't remember. Like, you have to excuse us. We're not experts in this field, but it is like, those are some terms.
But also, again, your kimonos, you do have them for men and women. And yeah, sure, the designs of that are different, but if you're an American, culturally centric person, then you just be like, it's a kimono, and it's like, it's a type of dress.
You look like you're wearing a bathrobe. I heard that one a lot.
Oh my God. As a storm rights itself.
Oh, hi.
Drenched. Asra, do you know that your shirt that you don't have...
Oh, don't worry, you have to read this, you'll find out.
He's white. Oh, sorry. He turns to me, free hand dropping to rest lightly on my waist.
Okay.
Water clings to his eyelashes, catching a magenta starlight.
Okay, I'm gonna die laughing.
Clouds all around us, except for the ones that leave the stars open.
Okay, so this is going to kill me.
Go.
But, like, the thing is so based on the era that this is, I guess, like, so a medieval tone, right, that you're trying to take from this, right, for the story. So medieval fantasy, right, however you want to do that. The types of, I always giggle where people go, here's the hot guy in the medieval fantasy and he's wearing the white and he gets drenched and you can see through it. I always want to, like, pick people up and, like, I'm like, okay, I understand what you're doing. You're doing he's the hot thing. But I also want to, like, dunk people into water and, like, leave them there for a while, because the fabric that they would have had at the time wouldn't allow for that, because it was much thicker and it wasn't as fine.
I was going to say,
you literally couldn't make fabric you could see through at that time, because you had to have different types of fabric.
Well, the thing is if we're going with Orientalism, they have silk and things like that. Now, his shirt doesn't look like it's silk, but also natural fibers and natural fabrics behave different than other fabrics. Now, if you're using cotton, certainly your classic white cotton tee can be seen through, but again, it's quite thin, and it's processed very, very differently. So part of the reasons silk was so notable, and this piece I actually do know, is because it was in already a tiny thin thread. Spinning technology of making extremely fine thread had to develop over time. Now, there's been embroidery and thread forever, for a long, long time.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, but the thing is spinning it really, really fine and thin.
Really, really thin.
For making really fine weaves, like your, Egyptian cotton 400 weave sheets or whatever. That is a more modern thing. And it's not like it wasn't existing, because lace making existed, in Europe and parts of the world, which is, again,
and it's
finer
actually
thread. But it's like a lot of your threads were thicker or heavier when you were talking about weaving the clothing if it wasn't silk. So that, or if it wasn't a fiber that was naturally, long and thin without being, carded and spun.
Which is always the thing, is, again, I don't want to take people's, like, fun out of it, but it's always annoyed me kind of as a kid, because I was even then going, like, you didn't have that kind of fabric.
Let's say
even
we can't
like
see through it,
silk.
but it still clings to him.
No, and that's fine, but even like silk. So one of the things like silk was also expensive, it was incredibly fucking hardy once you put it together. Like it's really high quality, good. It's actually kind of harsh if you have true silk.
Okay.
What?
So I was like, okay, so the shirt clings to him. What about his sash? Does that cling to him? It looks heavy. That thing always looks like one of those theater velvet drapes with the red, hook cord on it. It looks like, to me, every time I see it, it looks like he just stole the curtains.
He ran to
on
the
side of
theater,
the
and Julian's theater,
Mm-hmm.
and he ripped one of the curtains down, and he wrapped it around, he cut part of
So one time when Asra and Julian were making out at the local theater, and someone walked in on them, Asra just yeeted out without all of his accoutrements and just grabbed one of the red velvet curtains with the gold, like rope trim, and just wrapped it about himself. And then when he got home, he, looked at himself and he went, you know what, this is a whole ass style. This is a mood. I'm gonna wear this forever.
I'm gonna do this. And every time Julian went in it, he freaked out and was like,
And every time Julian sees that,
I'm
he's just
reminded.
like, oh,
right.
that.
Fuck, yeah.
Starlight! Kiss him, tease him.
Tease him.
Okay, so
What?
those are both kind of sudden.
What?
Those are both kind of sudden. Like, I would appreciate if they said, like, here's this, here's that. And the way they said, feels comforting, it'd be really nice if here they said, that it was, like, feeling romantic or making you, like, excited or sort of inspiring you. Like, it's an intimate moment. They could specify something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Kohai wouldn't kiss him or tease him. Now, the closest is kiss him, because Kohai is softly affectionate towards him, for sure, in my mind. But tease him is not their style at all, because they also are familiar with him basically edging away from absolutely everything.
Right.
In the way that you do, of just sort of gently yeeting off into the distance anytime a question comes up that either makes him uncomfortable, or he doesn't want to answer, or doesn't feel confident about, or just that he gets distracted and makes it look sage.
Right.
And so
I think
we're going to go with kiss him.
Also, I'm like, we've actually talked before that Kohai has been concerned about basically not, being too teasy or too basically aggressive with Kohai, or with Asra. So teasing him might actually be too much.
Oh, so Kohai has been concerned about causing Asra to shut down because he seems to have a level of anxiety that also is connected to him redirecting questions and not answering.
Yeah.
It's not always like, I see Kohai very much interpreting him as, you're actually not this sort of a vague wisdom sage master. What you are is someone who's a little bit like anxious and nervous, who gets overwhelmed easily when people put things right in front of you and demand answers. And you hedge against it with basically redirecting to mysterious, or sort of mystical things, because that's something that people sort of get distracted by.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna
try
try.
at a distance.
Hopefully, this is a gentle kiss. Let's try that. Rain soaks his hair, trailing down his cheek and catching on his lips. I can't look away. I lean forward slowly until there's almost no space left between us, meeting his eyes, asking with my posture and my slow advance if he consents, if this is okay. Moving in and keeping eye contact to see if I am putting him off or if this is not a good fit. There's something cautious and hopeful in his expression. Neither one of us dares speak and breaks the moment. I press a hand to his chest, walking both of us back to the rough bark of a palm tree, and he goes willingly. I lean in very close and I check for consent. And then I touch and gently push and check for consent. I like this. This is cute. The leaves above us grow to shelter us from the rain, the tree bending to protect us. And I kiss him, like he's the air I need to breathe, which I assume is gently because I don't wish to gasp and choke at all of my breaths.
I'm also like, usually when I go, the air you need to breathe, that's very feverish, heated kissing in my mind.
So that's why I kind of specified.
Yeah.
Okay, so when people use the trope like the air I need to breathe, it's sort of like acquiring and filling an absolute need. So it's supposed to be fervent, intense, absolute. But at the same time, if it's like the air you need to breathe, I really feel that sense of you don't want to gulp it down and huff on it and hyperventilate on it.
Yeah.
So I would like to interpret it differently here, despite that. Also,
the
again,
usual social.
Kohai is a bit softer. And so if it's like the air I need to breathe, it's that just deep, solid, smooth breath when you finally break the surface, but you're not panicking.
Yeah.
You know, that one. Like you've swam and you've held your breath and you've gotten to that point where it's uncomfortable, but you've planned on this and you know what your body's abilities are and you see the surface. And then when you come up, you take a smooth, even, deep breath. Mm-hmm. It's refreshing and it's powerful, but it's not gasping.
Yeah.
So that kind of a kiss. The whole world falls away, which had already fallen away to be here, until it is just us.
It's an abstract world anyway, so it didn't take much effort.
This other not world that isn't a place falls away as well, until nothing else matters but kissing. Arms wrap around me as Asra surges forward, kissing back with an edge of desperation I did not expect.
Oh.
Kisses trail down my face as he follows a path from my lips to my jaw, and I was not expecting this at all. That is a much more enthusiastic response than, you see? Shaking? We both pull back for breath and a little bit of like, what is it? Perspective at the same time. The storm picks up around us, suddenly turning fierce. Wild winds whip at us, loud wails that drown out what Asra is saying. He pulls us away from the tree, deeper into the shelter of the shadowy jungle. Long shadows grow around us, darkening the jungle further, and I go, Asra, is this not a dark path? As I am also a bit flustered and confused, and I still feel the kisses on my skin, and I am distracted. The storm
What happened?
is stretching out past the ravine, calling insistently to us.
Think maybe it's time for you to go. This place, it can change on a whim, but it's not smart to stay any longer. I'm happy you came, Kawhi. Sharing this with you is an experience I'll treasure. I'll send you home then, and I'll see you soon.
See me soon? Before I can get an answer, and realize slowly that I've gotten no other answers, and the reason I went there has not been resolved.
Everything else comes crashing down. I've had this question not answered, I've had that question not answered, I even had other questions that were not answered, and now we're back to not getting answered.
Even my list of things that I wanted to ask did not get gone through. The check marks, the bullet points are not pointed. Asra's hand presses gently to my eyes, obscuring my vision. Reality wobbles, at least it feels so in my head because I cannot see. The air bending around me as I fall back into the trees.
I guess, or at least I assume, because I still can't see.
Sit up on the edge of the fountain with a gasp, heart beating quietly from the strange journey.
A little disorderly.
Faust lifts her head up from her slumber and tilts it at me, blinking in confusion.
Snakes don't have eyelids.
The fact that she can blink means she is not a snake.
No, she's totally not a snake. So just in case you
don't
know,
she looks like a snake.
Snakes do not have eyelids.
Well, technically, they are described as having a static scale eyelid.
Yes, but
they do not have blinkable eyelids in any way.
That's what I mean. They do not have eyelids in the way we would classify them.
Yes.
They don't even have a secondary, protective eyelid that comes up, so that they can see through it.
What I was going to describe, because having had a couple of snakes in my life and having had their sheds, their skins, when it comes off the face, there is literally a scale, the shape of the eye, that pops off as well, and a new one has already grown underneath.
Yep.
So our eyes are exposed with just the flesh of the eye until we blink down the lid. Which
is also why we require more water for our eyes, so that it can actually rehydrate, because otherwise it would dry out.
Snakes have a sealed, unblinkable, it's basically an eye cap, a permanent contact that's attached to all the other scales, and there is no gap.
Also, there's something interesting in regards to, due to the fact that we actually have this exposed eye, so there's an interesting fact that I've told several people, and if you don't know this will be fun for you. Your eyes actually have something called basically immunoprivilege. So your body is so ridiculously aggressive, they've actually figured out that your eyes are literally not connected to your immune system, so your eyes alone, by themselves, because otherwise you would never be able to see from your body overreacting to literally everything that constantly keeps coming in and whacking you in the face.
To every dust mote, every bit of pollen, every microbe, everything. And your eyes have all this, mucus and blinking and, washing system to clean themselves, but the immune system would react to it aggressively. So yeah, they have basically immune system immunity.
Yeah, it's really interesting, which is also, again, though, why it's very important to take care of your eyes, because your eyes are very unique in that way, and also means that you should be careful where you put your eyeballs, because there's nothing else to protect them, because otherwise, yeah, you would just be blind all the time.
I'll say deeply specialized organs, and so, yeah, that's why you definitely have specialized eye doctors.
And you can actually look it up, and it's really cool. I really do. I think
neat.
it's like, yeah, immunoprivilege or something like that. I can't remember exactly.
All right.
Confusion.
Linking and confusion.
She's like a gecko suddenly.
And thankfully, since I have never seen another snake ever, I did not know she is unusual.
Which sounds weird. Asra?
No. I mean, Kohai? I don't know. First?
Asra.
It's okay. You are not a snake. Okay, so I really want to be able to hide the display and see her loop. Like the whole wiggly body and the loop of the tail. And in case any of you haven't looked too closely at the cover, so Lies made the cover for this playthrough. I made a really, really long Faust as the border.
It was a lot of fun.
And so it's entertained me endlessly, where she's just looping completely around the entire thing. But I would love it if the display could come down here and we could see the fullness of this drawing, because the weight of her body is really nice, and the lay of the coil, everything except for her head is very accurate and nice to Snake. I love it. She slithers onto my wrist and curls up there, looking worried. So,
in the only way a special sparkle snake knows how to look, because otherwise, how do you tell if a snake looks worried?
Okay, so the thing is, when it says she slithers onto my wrist, it makes her sound teeny tiny instead of around my wrist or onto my or around my arm.
I mean, you could assume, honestly, that what it means is that, like, she actually might even have most of her body still on the fountain, so you're kind of down here. So she slithers up and then pauses there, going, like, getting closer. And then you could also then say that it actually wraps all the way around, but you don't need to say that because that's not the part you are concerned about.
Curls up there on your wrist. You know?
I would say curls around there would be more accurate rather than up, because up, it does sound like it's
sounds like she's just sitting on your wrist like a tiny little noodle.
Imagine.
She'd be so cute.
How big? Like, imagine, like, because I always imagine she's pretty large, honestly. Like, very, very classic ball python.
I imagine her, 5 or 6 feet. Chunk.
Maybe like 3 to 4. Like, I don't imagine her huge, but still pretty large.
I say a lot
but
of
also but trying to wrap that mass. So she's like the little boa waiting on the edge. You know how you see the classic
drooped
green
over.
boa? Yeah, exactly, on the tree branch. Going, whoop,
drooped over both sides.
You.
Yeah, she's just looped herself around both sides.
I love big fat snakes. I
They're
just want
super
to
cute.
squish them.
Just hard squish, they want.
They're good. They also have fun little, so there's a fun little thing that you can do with some snakes, and again, I wouldn't say do this with all of them, but if you actually look at the sides of their heads, so there is specific muscles that are actually right up in here that are actually squeezable, but they're part of the jaw muscles, and you can make them go, and you can squish them, and they're very soft, and it's really funny.
I'll say, you can also gently open a snake's mouth by squeezing their jaw. I'll say, and if your snake is very well trained and amenable, or if you are a professional vet and they are drugged, you can force their mouth open for important things.
Yes.
I'll say, or if your snake is playful, you can gently go squeeze and they will just kind of be entertained at you. So,
honestly, if you have a properly socialized snake, basically is what you're
they will let you play with them, and they will play with you as well.
They have different behaviors compared to, like, cats or any of the more socially popular, I should say, animals. So it's really important to learn a reptile or a snake's body language versus a cat or a dog.
Because
they do have very specific...
They have really different emotional body languages. And one of the things that I've really loved about pet social media exploding is that a lot of professionals have gotten on there and talked about things like sugar glider behavior and what are those little primates that a lot of people like, that they are usually feeding like grapes and things to?
Oh god,
I forget.
I don't know.
Anyway, there's a really cute little gray primate that a lot of people have that for a while they would go, look, I'm tickling them, and they would throw their arms up in the air.
Oh,
and they
spider monkey?
No, they're gray.
Okay, I don't remember.
And they're not very big. And the thing is like, people were going, it's so cute. And then you had some professionals coming in and going, that behavior isn't your tickling me, that's actually their warning stress behavior that they do in the wild to look big and scary.
Yeah, because they're like, stop that, I will bite you.
Or stop that, I'm doing a defensive posture, this is very uncomfy. And so it's very important to learn the body language of your individual type of animal. Now, body language is known across, breeds and species. So it's not like it needs to be your individual baby by itself, although each of them obviously has their own personality.
And they will actually develop, especially as you interact with them, which is why it's important that you get to know your animal for their own personality, because they do have a unique personality. I always found that really weird. Like, where people are like, this breed is notorious for being really antisocial. So I had a panther chameleon.
Yes.
And everybody was just like, chameleons are like so antisocial and they puff up all the time and they're aggressive and they don't like. He was the sweetest baby. He would sure, he would just walk away from a lot of stuff, which then I wouldn't, take him back from. But he'd be like, okay, highest point. And then I'm just going to sit there.
So my friend, and this has been mentioned before, my friend would wear their hair up in a clip and make it like, chunky. And he would just ride on their head. And people would sometimes, and he would just sit still and enjoy things. And sometimes people would be like, that's an amazing hair clip. And they would look at them and they'd be like, oh my God, it's alive.
Honestly, I was like, I am fulfilling a childhood dream. Like, this is the best.
It looked so cool also, but he was a total sweetie.
Anyway, sorry, we've deviated.
Yes, we never do that.
Nope, not even once.
I began to walk back to my room, the image of Asra framed against a growing storm swirling in my head. What a place to end, a new chapter.
Oh, we can stop right here. Well, thank you very much, everybody, then, for joining us.
Woohoo!
If you've ever had interesting experiences with pets, please feel free to share. Especially if you've ever had any reptiles, please feel free to sort of share, or if you've ever, even had family that's had snakes.
My primary experience with animals is dogs and snakes, so yeah.
And I've largely had dogs and cats, and then I've had snakes off and on, and then I had elpis.
See, and I had a few rodents as a kid, but I never interacted with them greatly. And yeah, just mostly in the same way that Kohai interacted with and watched for Asra's body language, watch for your pet's body language, and try to be as informed as you can.
Yes. It is important to give your animal actually their boundaries and also their time alone, even if it's like, I would really like you to be here to comfort me. And I understand, like, some people get really offended when you tell them how to treat their animals, but I find it to be so strange, because I'm like, they are a complex being. They really do have their own sort of experience, and to assume that their whole world just revolves around you is far more selfish than I would like people to
It shrinks who your animal is.
Yes.
It puts them in
It turns them into
box.
an object more in a way, yeah. So, but thank you very much, everybody. If you like what we do, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, share our stuff. It actually does a lot for us in regards to the YouTube algorithm. If you even interact with the video, please also feel free to go check out our Ko-Fi, Patreon, and our Twitch. There are some links in the description down below, and we actually just had a April Fool's stream that was a lot of fun. So if you want to hang out for stuff like that, you're more than welcome to follow us there and get alerts. Yeah. And we would love to see you there. And I have been Scandal.
And I have been Lies. And it was great playing with you. Bye!